This is a liner that was turned into a cruise ship which went to war. This is a ship which once cheated the breakers and which a nation then took to its heart. This is Canberra, the ship that introduced a generation to holidays at sea.
In the early hours of this morning, the Canberra sailed into Southampton to be converted from luxury liner into troop carrier. Even before the 1,600 passengers had disembarked, the Ministry of Defence had taken over and preparations were starting to accommodate the 2,000 troops and all the necessary equipment. A shipbuilding and repair firm moved in lorry loads of steel girders with which to construct a flight deck capable of handling at least 3 helicopters. And officers of the Parachute Regiment and the Royal Marines started making arrangements for the 2,000 men who will be reporting there tomorrow. Also aboard will be 250 of Canberra's crew and 30 Royal Navy nurses.
Now the ship had 2 captains. Dennis Scott Masson, the P&O master, had overall responsibility for Canberra's safety. Captain Christopher Byrne, the senior naval officer, had tactical command. They were reunited at the Fleet Air Arm Museum in Yeovilton, in the Falklands section. Canberra had now to be accoutred for battle. Captain Byrne.
First requirement was to provide the facilities for helicopters to land and take off on the ship. And before the ship had got back from its Mediterranean cruise, Vospers in Southampton had been given the order and the drawings and had proceeded with the pre-manufacture of what was to be the midships flight deck for helicopters.
In 3 days, Canberra underwent a lightning conversion from luxury cruise ship to floating barracks.
Well, funnily enough, the actual conversion was relatively small. None of the carpets or the panelling or any of that was removed. Most of the pictures on the bulkheads were left in place.
By April the 9th, the ship was ready to sail. 2,500 troops, mainly paratroopers and Royal Marine Commandos, were now on board.
On the quayside, the ones who were being left behind were putting a brave face on it, while those who were going couldn't conceal their excitement. At 8 o'clock, the last mooring rope was cast off and Canberra was ready to sail. The liner's crew, civilians who volunteered to sail with her, threw down streamers while the families of those who'll fight, if fighting becomes necessary, waved a patriotic farewell.
There were something in the order of, I don't remember the exact figures now, but 2,000 troops on board. We had machine guns bristling everywhere, and we were virtually a warship. We had every facility on board as well, and we had hospital facilities, but we were a fully worked up and trained combat ship.
By the time we got to Ascension, for various reasons, it became apparent that we probably would have to go through with the operation.
So, on May the 21st, Canberra entered San Carlos water.
It was fairly dramatic, to say the least of it. I mean, one realized, having always been taught in military circles, that one never do an amphibious landing unless one had complete air superiority. Here we were doing an amphibious landing when we had no air superiority at all.
Cold, miserable, wet. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know where we were going. We thought we were surrounded by Argentinians. And then suddenly, over the hill, quite literally, came Canberra. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. I started laughing because it just seemed so incongruous that there she was, in a war zone. We were being attacked. We were surrounded by a very ferocious enemy who would quite happily have killed us. And then in came our old friend, the cruise liner, and just parked opposite.
Canberra was a primary target.
Yes, and we know now that the Argentinians certainly made one deliberate attack on, or they hoped was going to hit, actually Canberra.
Then, like a curtain, the fog lifted as we came back, and we could see Southampton. And perhaps more amazingly was the flotilla around us of little ships and large cruisers and yachts and dinghies, and even a party of Boy Scouts went past in canoes. I can remember this. And then you could see what was a blur to start off with. You could see it was a sea of faces, and there was the welcome, and the banners, and the cheering.